The camera pans over Flagstaff's golden hills, quiet, calm, and expensive. But beneath its calm, in plain sight, hides the Brown family's biggest secret. When Kody Brown signed those property papers, he didn't just buy a house. He built a wall one made of numbers, signatures, and silence. Because somewhere between that Chichi Wov million sale and that Ardent million mansion, the math stopped adding up. Okay? The neighbors whispered, the fans investigated, and even the wives began to ask whose name is really on that deed. Ain't? But what the court records revealed next would shatter the illusion of family money forever. $1 million moves wasn't a story about real estate. It was a loyalty test, masked as a mortgage. So the question is cute. If every wife gave up something to build this dream, why did only one name end up owning it all? And tell me, crew, do you think Kody ever had a plan to share it? Or was this mansion always meant for one? The Arizona morning seemed picture perfect. A mild breeze brushed across the redstone drive, and sunlight caught the glass panels of a mansion that seemed to gleam with pride. On paper, this was Kody and Robyn Brown's happily ever after a dream home, built on the ashes of plural chaos. But listen closely, and you could almost hear the ticking of something buried, a silence stretched too tight. And first, Kody's truck rolled up. He stepped out with that practiced confidence fans remembered from Sister Wives' early season. Head high, curls catching light. The stride of a man who still believed in his own narrative. Robyn waited on the porch, her coffee untouched, eyes tracking each movement, as if every sound echoed a memory she couldn't unhear. Inside, everything was perfect. Designer furniture, soft cream curtains, the faint vanilla scent of success. But the air was heavy. Behind this perfect aesthetic hid the receipts, refinance notices, and the unspoken question neither wanted to raise: how much of this was truly ours, in Kent? But perfection has a way of cracking first, where the truth hides, It began with paperwork, a missing signature, a date out of alignment. Robyn had noticed it while sorting documents for the renewal of their insurance. Kody, she said quietly, holding the page up, why does this list just your name? He barely looked up. Because it's easier that way, he replied, tapping his pen against the countertop. We're married spiritually and legally. It's ours. But that one word, ours, rang hollow. Robyn smiled faintly, her hand shaking as she set the document down. She knew the difference between faith and fine print. And that's when the calm stopped feeling peaceful and started feeling planned. Meanwhile, miles away, Janelle sat in her smaller rental, laptop open, staring at property tax updates she shouldn't still have been able to access. She wasn't angry, not yet, just quiet, processing. Years of family investments and shared dreams now looked like a trail leading straight to one address. Her cursor hovered over the parcel ID. It matched Kody Brown's name, not the family trust, not the LLC they once promised would protect everyone, just him. Christine, who was now living her best life post-escape, had warned them. She had told them years prior, the math doesn't lie, but nobody wanted to hear it back then. Now, with Coyote Pass half sold and half forgotten, the mansion at the edge of Flagstaff shone like the final crown jewel of control. Every empire starts with a dream and finishes with an audit. Inside the new house, Kody poured another coffee, ignoring the phone buzzing beside him. It was Meri again, calling to check in. He let out a sigh. Their connection had become a routine of awkward silences and polite distance. She wanted closure. He wanted peace. Neither of them realized that the peace they clung to was built on fragile paperwork and family myths. Robyn walked past him, her voice measured. People online think we used everyone's money. Kody laughed, a defensive chuckle. People online think I own the moon. Let them talk. But she didn't laugh. She'd seen the loan terms, the payment breakdown, the debt ratio. She knew just how thin their victory line really was. Later that afternoon, cameras rolled again. TLC's crew arrived to capture a quiet family moment. The microphones caught nothing unusual, just the sound of Kody rehearsing optimism, Robyn smiling on cue, and the faint click of a hidden calculator app being closed on her phone. To the audience, it seemed calm, but to the Browns, it was the eye of a financial storm that none of them fully comprehended. and storms don't announce themselves. They build up silently in the blue sky. Ang, as the sunset colored the mansion in gold, Kody stood on the balcony that overlooked the city lights of Flagstaff. You know, he started off low. I finally feel like we've made it. Robyn joined him, resting her head on his shoulder and whispering, "At what cost, though?" He didn't answer. Maybe he didn't have one. Meanwhile, Christine published a new video to her followers, smiling, glowing, free. Captioned, "Some houses are just walls. The real home is." Within minutes, fans flooded her comments with theories. The timing, the tone, everything seemed to point right back to Kody's mansion. And Meri saw it too, screenshotting it, then sighed. "He'll never see it coming," she murmured to herself. And the truth was, he might have already felt it. The calm he bragged about was just noise suppression. Every family member's silence was a form of rebellion, and every shared memory had quietly converted into evidence. By nightfall, the Brown Empire still looked flawless from the outside, but inside those polished walls, there was distance, the kind of distance money can't decorate away. Robyn sat alone at the kitchen table, scrolling through her emails, pausing on one subject line, county property update, ownership confirmation. Cat. Her thumb hovered over it. The glow from the kitchen light flickered as Robyn finally opened that email. Keke. Her finger hovered a second longer than necessary, like she already knew the words waiting on the other side. The subject line was ordinary, county property update, ownership confirmation, but when she scrolled down, her breath caught. The document listed a single owner, Kody Brown, not Kody and Robyn, not the Brown family trust, just him. Kit UC say. Her heart sank, but the house remained silent. The refrigerator hum was the only witness to her finding. She reread it twice. The county timestamp, the signature, the record number, everything matched the closing papers. Her name appeared only once, buried under spouse of record, a title that sounded romantic until you realized it meant not liable, but not entitled either. It was then that Robyn realized love and legality had never spoken the same language. Morning had brought with it the usual mountain chill. Kody was outside in the garage, fiddling with tools, making busy work out of fixing a shelf that didn't need fixing. Robyn approached. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was firm. "Kody, why does the deed only have your name?" He froze. The wrench slipped from his hand and clammed on the concrete. "What?" He forced a laugh. "You must be reading it wrong. I told the bank it's our home." She held up her phone. "It says you own it, legally. I'm just a reference, like a guest." For the first time, his confidence wavered. His jaw tightened. "Robyn, you're overthinking. It's just paperwork. We couldn't list everyone, it complicates taxes." But she'd heard that explanation before. From him, about Coyote Pass, from lawyers, about spiritual marriages, from bankers who smiled while stamping. Approved on someone else's name. She stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "So that's it? After everything I gave up, this house isn't even half mine?" Kody exhaled through his nose, the sound sharp. "You're my wife." "You don't need your name on a piece of paper to prove that." That's what people say when the paper says something they don't want you to read. Okay? Across town, Janelle sat with Christine at a coffee shop on one of her rare visits back to Flagstaff. Christine slid her phone across the table, filled with screenshots from fan forums, a county record search, even an image of the property listing before the sale. "It's official," she said, her voice steady. "Robyn's not on it." Janelle stirred her coffee slowly. "So, all those years we put into land shares, the savings from the Vegas sale, they funneled into one signature." Christine nodded. "He told us it was all about security." "Yeah," Janelle said bitterly. The two women laughed, but it wasn't humor. It was release, the kind that bubbles up when finally the anger has turned into clarity. Sometimes the truth doesn't explode, it seeps in, quiet but undeniable. In the mansion, Kody sat at his desk in his office, the blinds half closed, papers scattered across the desk. For once, the cameras weren't rolling. He stared at a spreadsheet of payments, loan balances, and upcoming property taxes. His phone buzzed with a text, "You need to call Meri. She's hearing things." He ignored it. What could he say? That the house he'd promised was family legacy was actually locked under his own name? That the wives who once called him leader now treated him Like a headline? Robyn appeared at the doorway, softer now. I'm not angry, she said, just confused. Why didn't you tell me? Kody rubbed his temple. Because I knew how it would look. How it looks or how it is, she asked softly. He looked up, and for a second, the man who'd once juggled 4 marriages and a TV empire looked small, cornered by his own math. Kank, power feels safest when nobody else can check the numbers. That night, Janelle and Christine went live online together. For the first time in years, they said. The chat exploded within seconds. Yallium, viewers noticed the tone, calm, resolute, not vindictive but matter of fact. They spoke of transparency, autonomy, and how women deserve their names on their own roofs, eh? They never mentioned Kody or Robyn by name, but they didn't have to. Every viewer connected the dots, okay? Within hours, entertainment blogs picked it up. Sister Wives' ex's hint at secret Flagstaff ownership twist. And Kody scrolled silently through the headlines. Robyn stood behind him, reading over his shoulder. So, what now? She whispered. He didn't answer. The silence stretched out until she finally walked away, leaving him alone with the blue glow of the screen and the weight of choices he couldn't spin anymore. Out the window, the mansion's lights shimmered against the night, bright and expensive and isolated. Each bulb was a reminder of what he had built and what it cost. CAC. For every secret revealed, there is a price to be paid, and the bill always comes at night. K. The next morning, Flagstaff didn't feel like Flagstaff anymore. The air was crisp, but the calm had vanished. Can't. And the silence in the center of that mansion wasn't peaceful. It was waiting. Kody walked through the living room with a look somewhere between pride and panic. The type you'd see on someone who realizes too late the cameras never will turn off. The headlines were everywhere now. Kody Brown's mansion scandal, ownership truth, leaks online. Fan accounts were parsing every line of the county record, while Reddit threads buzzed with theories about shared assets, spiritual loopholes, and the Robyn exception. Robyn scrolled through them, disbelieving, with each post digging deeper into her heart. They weren't talking about property anymore. They were questioning her loyalty, her trust, her very role in Kody's world. And for once, she didn't have the strength to defend him. When the truth goes public, even silence starts sounding like confession. Aunt Kody burst into the kitchen and slammed his phone onto the counter. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. "They think I tricked everyone? That's not what this is." Robyn didn't flinch. "Then what is it, Kody?" "Because the paperwork says exactly what they're saying." His face hardened. "You're turning against me now, too?" Her voice shook, but she stood firm. "I'm not turning. I'm waking up." Gnick. It was the first time in years she'd spoken to him without walking on eggshells. It hit him harder than any online article would. Later that afternoon, producers from TLC called. They wanted an emergency shoot just to get ahead of the narrative. Kody agreed in an instant. Damage control was second nature to him, but little did he know, the story had already outgrown him. You cannot manage perception when evidence is in the public domain. The camera crew arrived by noon. Kody sat in his usual spot, the leather chair by the stone fireplace, a symbol of the authority he'd built his identity around. But this time, his energy was different, not confident, defensive. He started talking about family misunderstanding, online misinformation, and how editing creates false impression. Then, as if from nowhere, Robyn stepped into frame. She wasn't supposed to, but she looked straight into the camera and said, "I just want people to know I didn't know my name wasn't on it until last week." Kody blinked. "Robyn, we talked about..." She cut him off gently, her eyes glistening. "We talked about trust, Kody. That's what we talked about." The whole crew stood, stock still in an instant. Nobody dared to breathe. The tension was raw, cinematic, not reality TV, but reality itself. Some truths don't need scripts. They write themselves on faces. Hours later, the mansion felt colder after the crew left. Kody sat by the window, staring into the night. His phone buzzed again with a text from Janelle. You always said leadership means accountability. Maybe it's time to show some?" He set the phone down, his hand trembling a little. He hated that she was right. Across town, Christine and Janelle met again. This time, their conversation was calmer. "Yeah?" Smiling softly, Christine said, "He built that mansion like a monument to control. But monuments always crack first. Janelle nodded. And you know what? I'm not even mad anymore. I'm just free. King. They raised their coffee cups in a silent toast, not to revenge, but to closure. Meanwhile, Robyn sat alone, staring at a framed family photo in the living room. Everyone looked so united in that image, the perfect illusion of unity, she whispered. I believed it too. Before she turned the photo face down on the table. King. The hardest part of breaking is realizing you helped build the walls. By midnight, the house was dark except for Kody's study. He was writing something he hadn't done in years. A letter, maybe a speech, maybe an apology. Even he didn't know. Okay? He just knew for the first time his voice didn't sound like a leader's. It sounded human. How did it all turn into this? He whispered to himself, yelling. There was no answer. Just the hum of the air conditioner, the faint echo of voices that once called him dad, and the sharp awareness that his empire wasn't stolen, it was miscalculated. Outside, the storm finally broke, a sudden burst of rain slapping against the glass, as if the sky itself had decided to wash the slate clean. But not even rain was going to wash away digital evidence, fan theories, and the growing distance between him and the woman, still sitting silently 2 rooms away. And that's when Kody finally understood the biggest storm isn't what destroys you, it's what exposes what was never solid. By morning, the storm had passed, but the mansion still smelled of rain and regret. Sankey. The sky was once more clear, painfully clear, as if the world had moved on, while Kody Brown stood frozen in the wreckage of his own choices. He walked barefoot through the quiet hall, his steps echoing against marble floors that suddenly felt too wide, too empty, too expensive. Robyn was nowhere to be found. Her car keys were gone. Her phone charger was missing, only a note, folded on the counter beside his untouched coffee, was left. He picked it up, his pulse pounding before he even read it. I just need space. Not from you. From all of this, I need to remember who I was before everything turned into defense. Goodbye. It was worse, an absence without any timeline. When love starts asking for space, it's already halfway out the door. Kody sank into a chair, staring at the note, as if the handwriting might change if he looked long enough. He wasn't angry, not yet, just hollow. Yet he turned on the television, perhaps to drown out the quiet. But that only made things worse. A Sister Wives rerun flickered on screen, the younger versions of them laughing, building, believing. Irony hit like a brick. Christine's voice echoed from the episode, cheerful, naive. We trust each other. That's the only way this works. He reached for the remote and turned it off. Trust. That was the word he'd spent a lifetime defining for everyone but himself. Meanwhile, Janelle was on the phone with a financial advisor, her tone calm but unyielding. She was finally separating each and every shared account, every remnant of company ownership that once blurred lines between faith and finance. Make sure my name's the only one on that file, she said. I've learned my lesson. Meanwhile, Christine was doing interviews, not malicious, not gloating, just honest. She spoke about liberation, about finally understanding that peace doesn't need an audience. While she never mentioned Kody, every sentence was a charged declaration from a person who'd escaped a system of credit and emotional debt. The Brown family wasn't breaking anymore, it had already broken. Now it was dissolving. Finally, back at the mansion, Kody noticed a camera crew parked outside. They hadn't been called but were always watching, waiting for an update or a confession, a moment that would trend. He drew the curtains shut. For the first time, he didn't want to perform. He didn't want to defend or narrate. He just wanted to be unseen. A luxury fame never refunds. And later that afternoon, Meri called. Her voice was cautious. Careful. I heard Robyn left for a few days, she said. Are you okay? He almost laughed. You really want to know, Meri? She said quietly. I used to. Now I just want closure. The line went silent for a moment. Then Meri added, you taught us to follow your lead, Kody. Maybe it's time you followed someone else's truth. She hung up before he could utter a word. Sometimes, the people you silenced come back only to teach you how to listen. By evening, Robyn returned, not home but to her sister's place. She didn't text, didn't call. Instead, she opened her journal and started writing, something she hasn't done since Vegas. The words came like rainfall after drought. Yo, I don't know if we built this house to live in or to hide inside of. Either way, it's cracking. Her tears had stained the paper, but she continued to write. And for once, the story wasn't about what the world thought of her, but of what she thought of herself. Okay. Back in Flagstaff, a drone camera captured the mansion from above for a news segment. It looked beautiful, isolated, surrounded by trees and wealth. But the voiceover told a different story. What started out as a dream home for the Browns has, over time, become a symbol of their division and perhaps the price of secrecy. Kody watched it in silence. The words stung not because they were wrong, but because they were true. He picked up his phone again, hovering over Robyn's name before putting it down again. He didn't know what to say anymore. That didn't sound like damage control. Enoch, the hardest apology is the one which can't fix what it broke. It can't. Outside, twilight wrapped the house in gold, that most devious kind of beauty that cloaks everything in soft light. He walked to the balcony and whispering to no one said, I thought this house would keep us together. Perhaps, out there in the universe, the response was silence. Because what keeps a family isn't square footage or land value. It is a type of mathematics that money just can't calculate: trust, time, and truth. And within that equation, Kody was finally out of balance. The following week, the air in Flagstaff carried that strange quiet that comes after too much noise. When everybody said what they had to say, and all that remained were echoes, the Brown mansion still loomed over its hill, gleaming in a sun that was no longer warm. It looked untouched from the outside. Inside, the silence had weight. Kody sat at the kitchen table where it all once began. Plans, promises, big dreams of unity. Still, the table felt smaller now, half empty and heavy, with memories he couldn't put away. He reached for his phone again, scrolling through the unread messages. Janelle confirming her financial independence, Christine thanking fans for support, Meri posting about starting new chapters. Then Robyn, the last message she'd sent 3 days ago, I'm safe, don't worry. He typed and erased his responses a dozen times. Nothing felt right. Maybe, because for the first time there wasn't a version of right-left to send. Sometimes closure doesn't come from others, it comes when the noise finally stops. Later that afternoon, TLC called again. They wanted to film a final reflections segment, a soft wrap-up for the season. Kody hesitated, then agreed. Maybe part of him still needed the camera, not for fame, but for confession. When the crew arrived, there was no script, no setup. There was just one man sitting by his own window, the light hitting him honestly for the first time in years. He looked straight into the lens and said, I used to think leadership meant being followed. Now I think it means admitting when you lost the map. His voice cracked halfway through, but he pressed on. I made choices I thought were protection, but they turned into walls. I thought building a house would build peace. It didn't. The producer didn't say anything. Nobody did. Kody took a breath. If I could go back, I'd write every name on every paper. Because what's a home worth if the people you love can't see themselves in it? And just like that, the man who had once controlled 4 lives finally let the story control him. The next scene they filmed wasn't planned either. Janelle and Christine met him in a park, neutral ground. The wind was soft. The conversation softer than anyone might have anticipated. Janelle handed him a folded page. For the record, she said, I'm not angry anymore. He unfolded it. It was a copy of a bank transfer receipt, her final separation, financially clean. Christine smiled wryly. Freedom feels lighter than revenge. Kody nodded, his eyes glistening. You both deserved better. There was no applause, no dramatic music, just a stillness that felt earned. Because in that stillness, everyone stopped defending the past long enough to breathe. Later, Robyn returned, quietly, without fanfare. She parked her car in the driveway and just sat there for a while, staring at the mansion that had once been her sanctuary. When she finally stepped inside, she didn't look for Kody first. She looked at the walls, the art, the space, the emptiness. He appeared in the doorway. You came back. She nodded. She nodded. For closure, not return. He nodded back. I understand. They did not hug, and they did not argue. They just existed. Two people who finally saw the cost of building too high and too fast. Enk. When she left again that night, she whispered one last line over her shoulder. You houses don't fall apart, Kody. People do. And then they stop pretending they're still holding the roof. With that, the last door in the Brown mansion closed quietly. Not slammed, not locked, just closed. Weeks passed. The media frenzy cooled. Kenk Coyote Pass, that one-time sacrosanct symbol of the family dream, was sold. Finally, the profits divided. The story filed away. In cat, but fans knew this wasn't about land or money, really. It was about what love looks like when you count it in signatures instead of moments. Kink. During the final montage on the show, Christine's laughter played over soft music, while Janelle smiled in sunlight, and Robyn turned away from the camera, notebook in hand. Ink. Then came Kody's closing line, spoken against a dim sunset backdrop. Yo, some numbers you can't fix with math. Some debts can only be paid with truth. The screen faded to black. The story ended, not with revenge, not with redemption, but with recognition. Because the real verdict wasn't from the courtroom, it was from time, and time never lies. And now, crew, the question is yours. Nope. Was this Kody's reckoning, or just another round of reality TV damage control? Ank, drop your verdict below, because sometimes the audience sees it before the cast does. Lol ya?